On today's episode of the Wild Party Podcast, I'm joined by Anthony Boldin, the founder of LiveComplete, a company that's rethinking what plant-based protein should be. After going vegan, Anthony found himself dealing with unexpected changes in his health and performance, even though he was sticking to what seemed like a solid diet. Rather than give up, he used his background in engineering to create NutriMatch, using an algorithm that builds plant-based protein blends to precisely match what the human body actually needs. And the result? A protein powder that not only works better than animal proteins, but also tastes amazing and supports real performance. We talk about Anthony's journey from self-experimentation to entrepreneurship, the science behind protein quality, and how LiveComplete is building a cruelty-free future of food that doesn't ask you to compromise. Let's get the party started. Welcome to the Wild Party Podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. And today on the show, I am chatting with someone who took a very personal problem and turned it into something pretty groundbreaking. And as a lifestyle vegan myself, I was all into hearing how this happened, because Anthony Boldin is the founder of LiveComplete, which is a plant-based nutrition company that started from his own experience of going plant-based and then realizing that maybe his body just wasn't responding the way he expected. So welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's really fabulous to be here. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So, listen, this is a crowded space you're in. You already know that. So before we get too much into like how you are tackling that end, I really want to hear the backstory of how this all came about, because we're in this revolution right now where people are really starting to pay attention more to what they're eating, how their body's getting nutrition. And, if you do choose the vegan lifestyle, how I did, the number one question we get bombarded with, so much so that I'm getting a t-shirt printed that says, I get enough protein, because immediately people say, where do you get your protein? And I want to turn around and just basically slap people, but you can't do that. That's just not a good way to have a conversation. So let's talk about how you started solving this problem, Anthony, because you decided you were going to try, change your life.
Yeah, slapping is not usually the best way to start off a conversation, is it?
No, I've tried it. It doesn't work.
It really doesn't. Well, hey, I lived a conventional lifestyle. Let's call it that, conventional lifestyle, for a long, long time. And when I went to plant-based veganism, I've been a vegan for probably almost 5 years now. And when I first went into it, I felt like, in many ways, I felt better. Like my skin cleared up, my stomach felt good. It's better for your heart. It's all these things. It's good, clean living. But one of the things that I'm kind of meticulous on is keeping track of my macros and writing down what I eat. And so I really didn't change the overall numbers. But I felt my body composition was changing. And we get that question all the time. It's like, where do you get your protein from? And you get it from plants. But even though I was eating the same amount of macro grams when it came to before, when I was a regular conventional eater, my body composition was changing. I wasn't recovering as fastly. I felt my muscles were getting a little softer, and I didn't like it. So that's how I didn't intend to start a company. It was just like I was trying to solve a problem for myself, which is maybe how some of the best things start.
Absolutely. And so your background is actually in engineering, correct?
Yeah, engineering, many different forms of engineering. I started as a mechanical engineer at an auto company in General Motors in Detroit way back in the day. And I was in manufacturing, quality control systems, and I moved to software engineering. And that's where I've been living over the last decade or so, is in developing code.
Yeah, and I bring it up not because that was the direct correlation to what you're doing now, but because clearly you have a very methodical mind. Like you understand problem solving, which honestly I feel in our era of AI right now, we are going to be. I want to see in 10 years what happens because, if you have all of your questions answered and you never figure out problems. So you really came from like the problem solving side of it of like, hey, this is happening with me. What exactly is going on there? So when you started your journey then and then really, looking into what goes into protein, what goes into food, what does my body need, like what did that look like for you? How did you first start to, because I keep hearing about this algorithm that you built, and
Yes.
me as a data nerd included, I love an algorithm. I do. I know it's a math equation, but it sounds very fancy, so
It's a fancy way to
take
say
me
it.
hear this, and it sounds very scientific.
It's true. Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's not AI. Let's tell you that. Like we do not use AI here at all because AI would hallucinate and make plenty of mistakes. And it isn't. I mean, this is an aside, but isn't it funny how like when you do know the answer and you listen to AI and hey, that's not right. That's not right. But when you don't know the answer, we assume it's all correct. But really, you have to look at AI and say, what part of what you're telling me isn't right? Because there's something. But so yeah, we built this algorithm here, which is just a mathematical linear equation, which is just algebra, fifth grade algebra almost. But so we have, so the journey really was this. Like when I dug into what the quality of protein was, we all assume that 20 grams of protein, whether it's from plant or milk or dairy or, well, I guess cheese is dairy, or animal products, it's all the same. But I learned that it was wildly different from source to source. It's ridiculously different. So we needed a measure for protein quality, which we didn't have before. So I basically looked at, what is your body made of? Like, scientists have been there. They've done all this. They know, they've done research on human cells and muscle cells, and they know exactly what the exact makeup of our body is. And so they are made of amino acids. So protein doesn't just go in your stomach and then get pasted onto your muscle in one piece. It gets broken down first, broken down to amino acids. Then all those amino acids get combined and put on your muscles. So the first step was finding exactly what your body needed. And then the second step was find what the amino acid profiles are of all the different plants out there. And then it was a mix and match problem.
Yeah, I can see that. And I was sitting here laughing when you said that protein's just pasted on your body because people really think that. And, God love social media. I am a big fan, but there's so much misinformation out there now that people, like you said, they just say a gram of this and you need so many grams. And I tell you, I get that question all the time. Well, how many grams of protein do you eat? You run marathons and you do this and that. And honestly, I've never paid attention to it. I never sit there and measure. Maybe I should have. But when I really started running, sincerely, seriously, I ate a lot of peanut butter because it filled me up and it made me feel like, I was doing it right. So tell me right now what I was missing in my peanut butter for the 25 marathons I was successfully completed. Where
I
did
love
peanut butter
peanut
let me down?
butter. You probably didn't have to use much. Like the peanut butter and all proteins out there have different levels of match rate to human muscle profile. I haven't looked up what peanut butter is. I didn't come to this meeting with that. I really should have, but I don't have every food memorized. But every food has a scale from 0 to 100. So is it a 0% match or 100% match? A good rule of thumb is most meats are in the low 80s. So like beef and chicken and steak and salmon are all in the 80, 84% range. I guess that makes sense because you take meat, you break it down, and you make, you make more meat out of it. Plants and dairy products have strengths in some of the amino acids and weaknesses in others. And that's why the general rule of thumb's always been mix and match and everything will be just fine, right? Just make sure you just balance everything right, but you don't really know what to balance with. It's like, how do you know whether you should balance it with peanut butter or with rice or with beans or with chickpeas or which ones? Like there is no way to really find out unless you really dig into the science. So with peanut butter, I wish I knew what the match rate was, but my guess it's in the 60s or 70s. So what that means you ate more than you needed. So now you're a runner. So what happens when you have more protein than what your body can use? So let's say the peanut butter has got everything has about a 60% rate. 40% can't be used to build muscle because you're missing something. Maybe you can think of it like building a house. So if you have a house, you need all these materials. You need them in the right proportions or you can't build up. Let's say you bring 1,000 tons of concrete, lots of wood, lots of windows, but you only bring 50 nails. If you only bring 50 nails, you're not going to get very far. And your muscles are the same way. If you're missing one of those amino acids in the right proportions, all the rest just are there extra, and your body can't make muscle out of it. So what happens to that extra amino acids or proteins in your body? Your body metabolizes them. It's actually metabolized by your liver, not by your stomach, because it's already through your stomach. And so your liver works harder, and it turns some of that into energy and sugars. And if you're a runner, you're running it. So you're just like taking extra glucose there. So that worked for you. But for others, you don't use that extra energy. It could be stored as fat. And so a lot of people that have unbalanced protein that they eat too much of ends up, compromising their goals to stay trim.
Absolutely. And that was one thing that I did hear from people are like, oh, you're just going to get fat if you eat peanut butter. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But you're right. I was really burning it off. But, so you really realize you're like, look, so we have this whole amino acid that needs to be complete. There's different things we need in our body. So when you decided you were going to tackle this problem and create the product, which by the way, your team did send me some and I have tried.
Yay.
And we're going to get into my taste test in a second. How were you able then to create the product? Where did you first go when you decided I'm going to try and create this? Did you set out for a protein powder or like what was the product that you had in mind?
Well, first it was protein. At first I was just mixing and matching plants so I could just consume balanced foods. Now, it's not like it's not complete. Almost every plant or animal food on the planet is technically complete, which means it has all 9 essential amino acids. Just many of them are imbalanced, which means it might have a lot of one part of it, but not very much of another. And so that's really its balanced protein that we need. And the match rate measures how balanced it is compared to what your body is made of and what it uses. So the goal originally was, it was just to find a balanced protein that could replace animal products, because I was living this life where I was matching my actions with my values. I just wanted to live a vegan lifestyle, but I also didn't want to compromise. So how do you find powders and do this? Well, this is going to sound maybe simplistic, but there's this thing called the internet, and there's this tool called Google, and so I first started by just doing that. I just was looking for, wholesale suppliers. I was finding the right keyword searches, and then one company led to another. Like there was a few places that I reached out to, said what I was looking for, and they didn't have it, but then they recommended somebody else, and all of a sudden you're in this whole new world of food manufacturing. And then there was a couple trade shows that I was able to go to and learn the different ingredient suppliers. And then eventually brought somebody on the team that does this stuff, that is in the supply chain for food manufacturing and for product design. And that was just, my first step into it was just a good old fashioned internet search. I know it should be more glorious than that, but it really wasn't.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of value in doing a Google search, to get your idea kind of off the ground. So when you started then developing this idea of like, this could potentially be a product that I want to create, what did you think about for the business side of it? Did you think this was something that you wanted to launch as your own product or reach out to an existing company, or, how did that whole journey then start for you? Because it was a lot of work. I know we're kind of glossing over it, but I think it took you a couple of years to finally figure out what you wanted to create, correct?
Yeah. There was a few years in there of starts and stops. And at first it I really wasn't thinking of building a business almost until the end.
Yeah.
I was just trying to crack this nut. I did the math on how many different combinations there are, and there's like 12.7 quadrillion combinations of plants if you put them all together, and there's like that's 12.7 billion. That was a little bit more than I can do by hand. So at first I was just trying to do it by spreadsheet. To be honest, I was saying, okay, I can do a little math. That's not that hard. And who doesn't love a little spreadsheet work? Well, I guess if you're an engineer, like who doesn't love a little spreadsheet work? So I realized that I couldn't do it. I was failing. And so I started writing this algorithm, which is a computer program that goes through all 12.7 quadrillion combinations to end up with the right answer. And it didn't work. It didn't work multiple times. It was diverging away from answers instead of converging. And I learned that the answer wasn't a pure program, just push the button, walk away, come back in 2 hours, and it's done. It's one that's interactive with myself, where it did steps along the way. It helped me do math calculations, but it took a lot of guideposts and having multiple layers, and finally it started converging to answers. It was like, okay, this is actually working. And when I got to the point where it had a match rate of 85% and it was matching chicken or beef, then I was like, okay, this is something here. This is something that probably should be a business, not just for me. I spent years just solving this problem just because I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get on. I needed to solve the problem, but it wasn't for the intention of starting anything. So then when I reached that threshold, I can get a plant-based blend that is just as good as the amino acid profile of chicken or beef. That's unheard of. And it was like, we got to do something here. And then it evolved from that. Even it was like, at first it was just going to be a protein company. And then it was really the personal journey that I had, like you had when you became a vegan. I was like, man, vegan living's too hard. It's like there's too many barriers, too much friction to live a complete healthy life. And that's kind of what came into my head. It's like, I want to live complete. I want to make plant-based living easy. I want to take away all the friction that is in your choices. Why do you have to compromise? Why do you have to choose between nutrition, taste, and texture and price, and something that's good for you and good for the planet? All this stuff was, right now they're either or questions for many people. And I want to have it all. I want everybody to have it all. I want to be able to have the best product for you and also best for the environment. Also, that's compassionate for animals and is conscious consumerism and all that good stuff. So I don't even know if I answered your question.
You answered my question. No, you answered my question and more, and you basically, kind of outlined the journey that I had been on. So I had been a vegetarian since I was 16 because I was introduced to PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And when I became aware of it was really the beauty industry at that point that they were targeting. When I became aware of the animal testing, I was like, how is this allowed to go on? Like, my 16-year-old mind couldn't process it. And you would go about your day and like, people know this happens and they do it, and how is that okay? So my whole life I've always been kind of balancing that in my head of like, this happens, the animal industry is horrible, these animals are tortured along the way. In fact, if you follow my Instagram, I basically like terror bomb people. Like, I'll post some cute personal pictures of my life and then it'll just be animal exploitation, right? Because I'm like, I feel like the shock and awe maybe will wake people up, but the biggest problem is changing habits. If people can't find something that easily integrates with their life and it's an easy swap, like you said, it is very easy for you to turn off that part of your brain where you've seen these horrible images of videos of what these animals' lives are like before they get on your plate, and just be like, I don't have time to deal with that. And people, like you said, have said to me, it's too hard. It's too hard. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to be healthy. So, the fact that we're having people like you saying, no, we can actually make this swap and it's very easy for you and create this product that fulfills all those needs. It's like, I'm all for it. Cause I'm like, yes, it has to be easy. Cause even me, I still struggle with it. I read every single label. I'm always doing research, but I can't expect everybody in everybody's lifestyle to do that kind of stuff. So with that said, I did mention your team sent me your product and I did try it.
Fabulous.
First of all, I've also listened to all of your YouTube videos, and you hit it on the head when you said it has to taste good, the texture has to be there, and it has to be easy. And you kind of hit the nail on the head with all of these, because for me, with protein powders, my biggest pet peeve was always the texture. It was always grainy, it was always weird, it always had a weird taste. And you solved that. So tell me, what's the secret in the sauce that made this so delectable to my palate that I wanted to add it to everything? Because right now I'm adding it to my coffee like every single day.
God, yeah, it
And
makes
I
it
was
nice.
never that girl that was like protein in coffee.
That's
What
kind
did
of
you
a thing
do?
now,
What's
isn't
the
it?
magic behind this?
Yeah, the magic behind this is an amazing food scientist team. Um, you know, they it is a when you have talented folks that love what they do, it is incredible what they're able to create. And I am not a food scientist. I'm an engineer. I'm a software programmer. I try to look at myself like the conductor of an orchestra. Like these are the pieces of the puzzle, and they need to work well together. And so I personally didn't create the formulation that makes it taste amazing, but I brought people on the team that knew how to do that. And because you can't do everything. And so you find the right combination of the highest quality materials. We have real natural sugar. We use agave because that's the best sugar with a low glycemic index, and it tastes amazing. We use either Madagascar vanilla for our vanilla, which is straight from Madagascar. It's using Cook's vanilla, which is just over on the East Coast here. We have the best chocolate processed with alkali in the whole out of all the different chocolates. We believe in our taste test shows that this was the best one. And we have a couple things that make it smoother. We have a ingredient that is, in the ingredient business is known as Optify, and Optify smooths out some of the graininess that is involved in plant-based products. There's a smidge of xanthan in there, which is a gum. I know some people don't like gums, and it's kind of funny. Like I've read labels that say, "Hey, there's no gums," but then you read in the back, and this guar is one of the ingredients. It's like, what? How can you say no gum on the outside, but on your label has a gum on it? But the thing is, if it's under 2% of the volume, the FDA allows you to say no. You don't have this in there if it's less than 2%. Ours is like, I don't know, 0.5% or something ridiculously small, but it's just a little bit that it just smooths things out. So the real competition on the texture is that delicious milkshake, right? That smoothie, velvety milkshake that, as a vegan, it's hard to get. So we have two different benchmarks when it comes to developing product, or three actually. It's nutritional equivalence, its taste, and its texture. So those are three things that are always competing against each other. So there's flavoring that gives you the taste, and the texture is built by the other ingredients as part of the flavoring layers. And the protein side, the nutrition side is the part that I help develop with the algorithm to say this is the right combination. But interestingly, there's not even just one answer. There's multiple answers. And I thought there's only gonna be one, but there's literally hundreds. So when our development team was looking at the different proteins that we had in our ingredient list, they said, well, this one is giving a little grainy feel. This one's giving a little astringent feel. This one has a little bit of an aftertaste that isn't in the others. So they asked me to rerun it and rebalance it. So we went through multiple iterations of going back and forth to balancing for the nutritional equivalence, for the taste, for the texture. We got it way better than I thought we could have. I thought we were ready to go back in April, and luckily we can talk about manufacturing, a little manufacturing delay where we weren't be able to get in when we thought we could, and it would be a couple more months, about 6 more weeks, and so it was like we got to go a little more. So we gave it a couple more iterations. We made it even better. So what you have now is our production, our first release, which is incredible. But even after that, we're working on another one that's going to be our creamy flavor. That's even going to.
No, I don't believe that the chocolate could get any creamier, because I'm going to tell you right now, Anthony, I have never been a fan of protein powders at all. And I said to your team, send me some so I could try it. And I have to tell you, it sat on my counter for like 4 days before I wanted to open it up, because I was like, I want to interview this guy, but I'm probably going to hate this. And when I tried it, I was like, oh my God, he actually made me like protein powder.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's like
I couldn't believe it. I'm serious. Like I've tried. I mean, like I said, I've been a vegan for almost 12 years now. I've tried a lot of vegan powders and they suck. It's
Me
always a
too.
weird taste. The texture, like you said, and I was like, you like figured it out, and it's so good. And now, like you said, like I'm making like coffee shakes out of it and stuff, and I'm like, this is great. And then of course I read the ingredients, and because I can actually pronounce the words and I understand them, I'm like, oh, there's mung bean in it and fava bean and this rice protein. I'm like, damn, dude, you solved it. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Just that's great. Damn, right on. I love that. Yeah, and so that is some of the problems with plant proteins that they are pretty grainy. And if you ever try this once, if you have a competing product, just put it in there and put it in and mix it up and let it sit there for a half an hour, and it starts to separate and look all gross. So, when these you think it can't be done, but if you have a dedicated team that just loves what they do, like I mentioned earlier, they really killed it. And I really believe this is the best plant tasting chocolate and vanilla on the planet when it comes to plant based. It's just, and we're really proud of it for sure.
Okay, so you solved the protein problem, the protein science behind it. You have a great product, the consistency, the taste, and you mentioned a little bit about like starting to go to market. So what did that look like when you were ready to launch the product? How did you know like the next step for that? And also, I don't think we talked about it. Is this all self-funded, or how did you get this off the ground? Because this beautiful packaging, this costs money. So tell me, give us the inside scoop, Anthony. Who's paying for all this?
Yeah, there is a. It's mostly self-funded. It's self-funded for myself, and we have a lot of team members here that are contributing their love, time, talent, and passion to what we're doing here. We are not venture funded. We're not owned by some venture capitalist or private equity firm on one of the coasts. We just chose this model that we are all owners. We're all co-founders. We're all part of this new venture, and it's amazing what the type of people that you can bring on your team that believes in what we're doing, believes in the future of what we're trying to accomplish, and gives their heart and soul like that restaurant owner energy that you get when you're at a restaurant and the owner, who the owner is because they're all walking around and making sure everything's doing great, and they always meet you up with a smile, and they have full of that energy part. So that's the type of team that my goal was to put together here. Was all these different functions. Developing a food company is a lot of work. it's a lot, all these different facets, and packaging, and the R&D and the formulations, and you have design and marketing and sales, all these different pieces, and you need a lot of money to get a food company off the ground if you want to make a splash. Now, we could have just gone smaller and just tried to say, hey, I just want to sell stuff in LA and not worry about the rest. But our goals are a little bit bigger than that. And so we're playing to win, and we want to make a real impact in the world, because we think that if we make a product that is just better for you, better for your family, better for your health, better for your kids, then the question between what it's made of will start to blur, and it won't matter if it's made from plants or made from animals. It's just that this is the best product out there. And so then you can make a real impact. So if the end result is that, oh, it's better for the environment, oh, it happens to be vegan, and it's more compassionate, then we're going to save the planet and save animals' lives, and nobody would be wiser.
You're exactly right. In fact, you are not the only business owner that I've talked to, in fact, quite recently, where they stopped leaning so much into having the word vegan on their packaging, because it was also a food product company, actually called Zen Stacks, which is a vegan pancake company. And
I
they're
saw that
delicious.
episode. That
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
great.
Yeah. So
I
she
have to
even
meet
said,
her. She's
yeah,
great.
Sari even said, she's like, I stopped leaning into the word veganism because it was off-putting to people, because again, it's become politicized. People are either on one side or the other, or they don't understand it. And she's like, we made it just seem, mention the word more plant-based. She goes, but really, we lean more into the fact that it's a healthy breakfast, for your family. And people really responded to that, knowing that, this is a product that is good for their family and good for their, the world in general. So, for you then, as you are maybe like, getting more into the marketing, how are you educating the public then as far as your product, like I guess the differentiation
Yes, a
of your product,
differentiation.
differentiation of your product over another? Because if you have the science behind it and you have the texture and taste and everything, it's like, how do you now then weave that story in of like, it is sustainable, it is better for you and the environment, or how much are you going in either direction with that message?
Yeah, plant-based is more of an inclusive message and broad message. It's about, sure, it's about animal welfare, but it's also about wellness and health and sustainability. It's all that wrapped together. It's got a real good vibe. So we went with plant-based as well instead of vegan, even though we are vegan, but we just say plant-based. It's got that more broad approach. Um, but really, what was the question again?
My question now is, as far as like educating the
Oh,
public,
educating.
yeah,
Yeah.
about your product, what does that look like for you? Because you have the science behind it, but it is a crowded market. The protein market in general, whether it is animal products or not, very crowded. How are you approaching getting your product into people's hands and minds and making them quickly understand what makes you better?
Yeah, we are very different. So it's both I say it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that we're different. We solved this serious problem. It's a curse that we're different because nobody's really heard of match rate or feels that protein quality matters from one thing to another. So education is a really huge component of this. And so we're reaching out through social media. We're going to be at conferences. We're writing white papers. We're going to do clinical studies. We're going to just go all in on education. And my role at the company is going to be more of an educational leadership role through the outside to the outside public than I ever probably could have imagined. That's one of the things that I even realize amongst our own team is that communication and understanding who we are and why we're different is still not easily understood unless we package it into something so simple that you can pick it up in a few seconds. And that's why we created match rates. So match rate is that percent of protein quality measurements. So our product's at 96%. Things like whey is at 48. I hate to say it, but it's really not that great. And so we're twice as good as these products that are out there. And so we just have to continue just to talk about the message, educate people on protein quality matters, that it really does vary widely from one source to another. And we're going to be doing that for years. And that's going to be one of the main missions here. Then once people see that there is differences from one food to another, they will naturally want to learn more and they'll gravitate.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. Because again, we just have so much of this conversation now where people just, they really just worry about what are your grams of protein, but they
Yeah.
don't understand what any of that means and they don't understand how it works in their body. And, you sit there and say, well, I don't know. I mean, how do I get it? And then it just becomes that kind of convoluted, gram for gram for gram kind of thing. I'm glad that you mentioned the whey thing because whey is in way too many products and it doesn't need to be. So here's my vision for you, Anthony. I need you to
Yes.
solve this for me. Anytime I see a package, because I do eat packaged products, like I eat crackers and stuff. Yes, it is over processed, but I do love a cracker with some spread on it.
Oh my God,
Um,
who doesn't love crackers? Come
but
on.
I mean, here's the thing. When you look at all that, it always has whey. And you're like, why is whey crammed into everything? So here's what I need you to solve. I need
Mm-hmm.
you to make a product that can totally replace whey and all of these other products that I want to eat. Because it is annoying to me that I have to read everything. And let me tell you, I am in my 50s, so I now need to use readers to read everything. And I am the girl that walks around in the store with my readers on, reading every package. Please solve this problem for me next. Could you do
Oh
that?
yeah. I don't use a reader. I just look under my glasses to read. So I'm with you on that. But that's what we're doing right now. We want to create the future of food where we cover everything from A to Z. So we're not just stopping at protein powders. It's just where we're getting started. So we have the whole product line that you can think of. Protein enhanced foods from down in every aisle. They want to be not only within our own brand, but we want to sell that as an ingredient to other companies so that they can bring in plant-based protein that is better for you and better for the environment than whey and milk and dairy and those types of products. So yeah, I don't think it'll be too long, but we'll definitely be in other spots.
Good. And then you could also do some partnerships with some coffee companies because, they've started adding like B vitamins and stuff to these coffee pods and all. I would also like them to add your, what do we call it? Oh, NutriMatch. Sorry, I forgot the name. The NutriMatch to it. I would buy that coffee product. That would be awesome. Funny fact, actually, I didn't drink coffee until I started running, which is funny
That's
because I
interesting.
found that coffee was the one thing that warmed me up very quickly because I would run very early in the morning and I would be freezing cold down in Santa Monica because when I was training for my marathons, we would start at like 5 a.m. and it would be so cold. and I found coffee warmed me up, and I became a coffee
Okay.
drinker in my 40s, which was very funny. And
And
now
now
I
you're
am one of those
addicted.
people that wants to add everything to my coffee. So yes, protein in my coffee would be the next thing I would like you to solve for me. That would be great.
Right on.
Okay, so as you were solving my life for me, I know you still have quite a bit of business problems you need to solve. So just tell me maybe one lesson that you've learned as a founder that maybe you wished you had learned earlier in your journey.
Oh boy, only one. We could probably do a whole episode of all the things that you learn. I think one of the. Do you mind if I go with two? Because
Sure.
there's really two key things. Number one is you underestimate you underestimate how much effort it takes to get from zero. Like when you're starting everything from scratch, when you're going into a business that's already there, has all these systems and processes and people in place, going from nothing is ridiculously hard. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of teamwork and a lot of people to accomplish those things. I completely underestimated how long it takes to get from zero to even halfway there,
Mm.
because even just having a social media channel, just getting that up and running and having followers and getting our process and our brand in place was way harder than if we had a channel already and we just walked into somewhere and everything's already running. It's a lot harder that way. Um, the second one is that the things that you don't want to do are the things that you should. You know, how many times? I mean, I'm a really good procrastinator. Like if something I really don't feel like doing it, or it's really against what I'm comfortable in, then that in itself is something that's easy to push off till tomorrow. But you have to look at those as those are the things you got to be doing. You got to get yourself out of your comfort zone, like doing like those YouTube videos or being on podcasts. I'm a more reserved person, and it scared me to death to be in front of a phone that was talking about Live Complete and talking about NutriMatch and how we work. And so you have to step into areas that you're uncomfortable in. And so much so you should be looking every day and say, what's the thing you don't want to do, and do it first. You know, it's so easy to work on all the other important things except the one thing you really got to do that you should, but it's against who you are, and it's uncomfortable, and every fiber of your body is screaming, don't do this, do something else instead. That's the thing you got to work on.
That is absolutely great advice. I am quite a bit of a procrastinator myself, and I'm always amazed when I do the thing I really didn't want to do, how it frees up my time. Because I mean, just the worrying about doing the thing I didn't want to do, and then it's done, and I'm like, oh my God, I have so much time in my day because that thing is done that I had just put off for so long. And then, I try to force myself the next time. But, we're all works in progress. I do appreciate that. But again, I'm really glad that you're taking these complicated issues, breaking them down, and making them easy to understand, and then easy to consume for the general public out there. Because again, if it's too hard, people are not going to make the change. And there are a lot of vegans out there that will say, I'm not trying to change anybody. I am going to tell you right now, I'm trying to change everyone, which is really why I started this podcast. I am on a mission to make everyone I meet a vegan. So when I have products
Fabulous.
like yours in my hand, I just feel like I have more in my toolbox to be like more convincing, right? So thank you for solving so many problems for me and for the world in general. And it's been so much fun to talk to you. But please, before you go, tell everybody where they can find you online, where they can get their hands on this amazing product, because it is delicious, and I do not say that lightly. I hated protein powder before I tried this, honestly. So where can they find you guys online?
Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate that sentiment. Simple, livecomplete.com. Just how you spell it, live, Live, and complete. Or at our social channels, we always have I Live Complete. We put the little I in front because it's about our personal journeys. So it's at Instagram, it's I Live Complete. Our YouTube is I Live Complete. All of our socials are I Live Complete. Otherwise, it's just livecomplete.com. Super easy.
Awesome. And so since you brought up social media, just to let you know, my actual business is marketing and very heavy on the social media marketing side. And I do have notes for you about your
Fabulous.
social media, which I'm going to share with you whether you want them or not,
I
to
want
help you
them.
guys level up your game, because you have a lot of potential in there. And I do want to make sure everybody is finding you. And because, social media is now basically the news for everyone. We really need to step up your game there. But that's a separate conversation. We'll get into that. So with
Thank
that
you.
said, Anthony, This has been so much fun talking to you. You are a joy. I am excited to see where you guys go. Please get protein into coffee and into my crackers, and I'll be a happy girl.
We're going to do that. Guarantee it. All right. It's been a pleasure, Stephanie. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been super fun. And boy, those minutes go by fast. I wish we have more time.
Thanks for listening to the Wild Party Podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit boomtownmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at boomtownmarketing.com and click Get Started.